My name is Joe Yannitell. I was born November 22nd, 1912 in here in Ohio.
Okay. What was that date again?
1912.
Now, what's the date today? This is, what did you say, September 8th?
This September the 7th, 1970.
Monday?
Yes, on
Memorial
Monday,
Day?
Labor Day. We're sitting here at the No Knox Cottage with my son Tom Yannitell.
That's me, folks.
Yes. Now, I was born in a house in the east side of Huron. My dad was a dock worker at Stevedore Dock. He had worked there for 36 years, died of cancer. December the 7th, 1932, right in the heart of depression.
Well, you know the date right away.
The depression with my son wouldn't understand what it would be. Such as
I just heard about it.
one time I had gone 3 days without eating. In fact, I worked out on the picking strawberries with the third day and ate strawberries for my first meal. That's what depression was at one time. And I also had four sisters. I had a brother that was had died in Detroit, put in the sewer in Detroit. They had a sewer probably the size of, I would say, in circumference probably 15 or 20 feet, the size of the sewer. It had gone down about 25 or 30 feet in the ground putting us in. It caved in on him. And before they could uncover him, he suffocated. I was only 6 or 7 years old. My mother died when I was 5. So I don't remember my mother. In fact, I was only 20 years old when my dad died. So I was left a house with my other sister, Thomasine, who worked in Detroit in the wintertime, came home in the summer. I bought a Model A Ford in 1929, brand new, in Detroit.
You're knocking out most of your childhood. I got to figure out
Well,
what you did.
my childhood was a very wholesome childhood, I would say, because of the fact that we hunted and fished and played out on the beach in the summertime. We played football out in different fields, which you now have beautiful summer homes in now. We had a lot of friends. We were sort of a bicycle gang. We had a bicycle gang instead of a motorcycle gang in our days. We bicycled all over. In fact, my first bicycle when I was probably about 13 or 14 years old was a knocked-down bicycle in a box from Sears and Roebuck with my dad had sent. And we had possibly 8 or 10 fellas help me put it together. That was one of the thrills of my life, to own a bicycle.
Well, you were born in the house?
I was born in a house by a midwife, Mrs. Catry. In fact, all of us was born in our home. All of our sisters were born in the same house. They had a front bedroom.
What was the number of the house? Remember? What was the street you said?
Williams Avenue.
You remember the number?
416.
Same number yet?
Yes. Of course, we didn't have delivered mail. We had a box uptown, the post office, that we would go and get our mail. We never had mail delivered.
In a post office?
Yes, we had boxes. We would stop. We had a box with a combination lock on it. And we all knew anybody was uptown, or we'd come home from school, we'd stop at the post office and open up and see the mail inside. That's how we got our mail. My dad had a cow. We would drink a lot of milk. In fact, we butchered a pig every year for our meat for the winter. My dad would even can tomatoes. We had about I'd say a quarter of an acre of land in Backwoodsmith. My dad would spade, and we'd plant tomatoes and peppers, and we had a little grape vineyard back there. My dad used to make 4 or 5 barrels of wine.
Who drank that?
he would drink it he would drink probably a quart of wine with his meal all the time, which I didn't care for. We probably ate spaghetti 3 or 4 times a week. That was our main food at all times.
How about pizza? Did you ever have pizza?
Well, my sister would make the pizza. That was homemade pizza, which we made our own bread too, by the way. My Dad had a brick oven in the backyard that he made bread about once every week or every 2 weeks. We had a great big wooden tub, like big square wooden tub that he would make the bread and would rise and then make it in round loaves and take it out and build a fire out there in the oven, and then we would bake our bread out there.
Did a lot of the neighbors do that? Or
We all did this. This was really a custom of living. This is the way of living. We had an ice box on our back porch. Man delivered ice 2 or 3 times a week. It held 50 pounds of ice in it, in the top, for refrigeration. Before that, we had no refrigeration. We'd have to put our meat and stuff in lard pails, jugs, or these crocks, to preserve it that way. That was the way it was preserved.
Well, tell me something about the neighborhood and the kids.
Well,
who'd you grow up with? Where'd you go to school? You know,
well, I
don't really
went to
know the locations of these
Huron
places.
High School, and I graduated there. I left a few track marks there, which were broken later on, of course, such as pole vault and mile run and the javel. I threw the javel for a trial down there one time and broke the record the first time I threw the javel. The coach was astounded by just had me the javel and I threw it.
Is that the same? Is that
Same
school?
javel at the Huron High School, but which, of course, Huron High School has been rebuilt. It's been knocked down out of what remains there is a library. The federal government built the new high school from the something like the WPA.
Yeah, was that the same location as your place?
No, they've moved it down about 3 or 4 blocks from the location. Now all it stands is now at the library with just a lot of ground there.
You mean the library now is the old high school?
Well, it was just
Could have been a library.
it was a part of the first or second grade that they left a new building part of it and made a library out of it. The rest they tore it down completely. All there's a lot of land. There's the library sitting there now.
Well, is this the Huron Library now?
So Huron Library.
Because I've been in there.
Yes, that's the Huron Library. It's high school and the grade school were all together.
It was bigger than that, you're saying?
Oh, it was possibly 25 times bigger than that. If you
But
notice
it was
the
all
land
torn
around-
down and that was left.
Yes, that was left, and they rebuilt it and somewhat
What is that
modernized it. Pardon?
What's the name of that street?
It's
Same one that Corky used to be.
now my street where I was born was called Williams Avenue, and this is Williams Street. Now they've renamed the street I live on. I think it's Tiffin Road now, or Tiffin Street, I think now. Where they renamed it because the names of the 2 streets were too close together. The mail was getting mixed up when they started delivering.
Oh, your house. Now I know your house is on. It's on the east side of the river.
That's right. We were born in what they call the East Side.
The east side.
Mm-hmm. This is
And all the town is really on the other side.
Yes, the river divides the east and the west. The Huron River. And by the way, the Huron River, where the fishermen, how they got the ice was that in the wintertime they would saw this ice and store it in sawdust and building.
They sawed it right out of the river?
Pardon?
They saw the ice right out of the river?
Yes, right out of the river. They made the ice right out of the river.
And they stored it in sawdust?
Sawdust in these big, thick wooden buildings, so they wouldn't melt in the summertime. The sawdust helped insulate the ice.
Did they lose much ice?
Not too much, no. This is how they sold the ice. They got then they also shipped fish this way. They would ship up the ice in the boxes and ship it out this way. Ice. There was no refrigeration of any kind except ice. Of course, we used to cut across the river in the wintertime going to school. This was a shortcut. We just had a regular path.
Well, didn't they have an old? Wasn't there an old bridge or something there?
Well, of course, the bridge was there, the river bridge, but our shortcut was going through the north side of the dock down there, and we'd cut across going over the river in the wintertime going to school. So it was a quick way of doing it. Of course, in the summertime, when the spring came along, well, we'd go swimming in the river. In fact, we used to dive off the bridge. We'd stop a lot of cars once in a while. We'd get up there and wait till all a bunch of cars come down the line. We'd all take a dive off at one time. Everybody slammed their brakes on when we were committing suicide.
Is that as high as the bridge is now?
Yes.
Are you
about
sure?
the same height, yes, sir. It is the same height.
Was the river the same width, or did they dredge
No,
that out a
sir,
little
that
bit?
bridge is the same. It's been exactly the same way all these years I recall it.
Well, how about this new section they dug out for the docks? Has that always been that way?
Yes, that's always been there. Coal dock and the ore dock has never been changed.
That big area in there where they turn the ships around has always been the same?
They've always turned the ships around that area there, and well, they don't actually turn the ship around. They bring it in and then they back it out and turn it around that way. They just back a ship out. They bring it in and just back the back end out and head it straight out the river, north out of the river, through the lighthouse.
Well, I still haven't quite figured out that trolley car. Now, it went by your house, actually,
yes,
pretty
we
close.
were stop 21. We called it stop 21.
Right there at your road?
Yes, right. Everything was named stop something.
Yeah.
Stop 1 or 2 right down the line.
Oh, now where did that go west from you into town? How'd they get into town?
Well, that went right over the river bridge.
What?
You continue down past that.
It was on the same bridge as the road bridge?
Yes, it had a separate section on the north end of it.
On the north side of the thing?
North side of the bridge, it had a separate section that the rails went through that way.
And then where did it go through town?
Well, it went right along that section there. It went through the sort of the southwest of the town. You had a railroad. It had a little station there, which is gone, of course. Where actually where 2 starts right now. The freeway. That's where the station was.
But it didn't. It never went through town. It never
No, it never went through town at all. It went
through the south end, sort of.
That's right. And this now where the freeway 2 is where the rails were that went to Sandusky. This is a rail that sort of followed that way.
Well, it never got close to the beach then.
One time my dad told me that the electric car was even beyond the beach, because he had pillars up there at one time, showed where the cars have gone by. Then they moved it in further because of the...
Everything kept washed out.
It's washed out, exactly. Right now, all that's left in Sealand Junction is just the station there.
Yeah.
If you'd have followed it right through, it would have been washed out down that section down through there.
What stop was Mitawanga? You remember?
I don't recall.
Was it the numbers going higher towards Cleveland?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So where did it start from? Toledo?
It started from, Toledo, and then the intersections went on into Chicago and into Detroit. Just like the railroad, there's train cars, train tracks rather, just the same way. They say today it would be feasible to have electric cars today. If it was operation now, they'd probably be in good business right now. It may eventually come back to that because of the traffic that we have out front now. I used to go from stop 21 to Ruggles Beach, which was about 5 miles for 5 cents.
Or less.
Then walk about a mile to the
Or
farm. Yes, walked out a mile to the Williams farm.
Was
worked all day. And near Ruggles Beach was 5 miles. Near Rye Beach, I beg your pardon, it was Rye Beach. Where
you went the other way. Went to Rye Beach.
I went west. And he would pay me 10 cents. He would give me 10 cents a day for my fare and $1 a week for working there, and plus my meals.
What was an average salary for some grown
Well, my
man?
dad, an average salary. My dad started to work at 12 cents an hour when he first came to the United States.
What was he doing?
He was shoveling ore. At 12 cents.
In the bottom of the boats?
Yes. Put it in piles so the bucket could pick it up. This was hard work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And but he accumulated 3 homes and about 8 lots in all these years there. And of course, he had raises and raises as times went on. Of course.
What did he end up doing? What was he?
He was still a shoveler when he.
Shoveler?
Yeah. He'd been there 36 years.
Did he ever? He came from Italy, right?
Yes, he came from.
What was your dad's name and your mom's name?
John Yannitell and Lenora.
Lenora?
Lenora. And
they were from
Elvido.
Elvido.
Elvido, yes. This is quite a There's quite a story about that too. He had been married and had my brother, and he was making too meager of a living. But he had saved for about a year or two the money, and he borrowed some money, and someone took him on horse and wagon from Alvito to Naples, which was about 60, 70 miles. It took several days to get there, and waited about 2 or 3 days for this boat, and came to New York, and from New York came to Huron on a train.
Why did he come to Huron?
Because all his friends were there from
Was this
Alvito. This was sort of a next little Alvito town.
Well, was it an Italian colony, Huron, or what?
Yes. No, the
I mean,
east
did they
side
have a little
was,
bit of everything?
the east side was considered an Italian colony. That would be a good word for it. Because most of his friends came from that section of Italy, and they have written to him and said that this was a land of gold and lots of good living and so on.
Was it? I mean,
Yes,
was it better
because-
than what he had?
Yes, because I have no idea what he had made before, but he had made enough money in the next couple of years and sent enough money back home to my mother. And incidentally, when he came to the United States and sent money back home, my sister told me that she had started buying better cuts of meat and buying herself some clothes back in Italy.
Your sister?
My sister told me the story of it because she had heard from how it all happened. She tells me the story. I didn't know. But in a couple of years, he had sent for it, saved enough money to send him here, to live here. Bought a house.
Was he married when he came over?
He had my brother Angelo was born in Alvito. He would have been about 70-some years old today if he was living. He was the oldest in the family. But he had accumulated enough
He
money.
came over with your dad.
Yeah, no, he came here. Well, my mother and brother.
After when he sent for him.
Yes, and they came over, and he had bought this office at the dock. They were going to build a new office. He had bought this building and moved it on this land right there and built the house. I mean, revamped the place and made a home out of it. This was, I don't remember the years it was, but this is how it all started. Yeah. Now, of course, you see, he must have been an unusual man to want something better in life than what he was doing. To want to get out and make a better living for his family. Because a lot of the old timers stayed right there. They didn't.
Yeah.
They just.
They lived in the height, I suppose.
Yes. They tell me the story that he used to live in this house that we saw in Alvito, where he was born. He would run across this fields, possibly about 3 or 4 miles, to go to work to another farm. This is what he did every day to make a living. But there must have been something in him that to want to do something better in this world. It's very unusual, really, to have a man with this ability to do something.
You got any pictures of him?
Pardon?
You have any pictures of your dad?
Yes,
Anything?
my sisters have. My sisters got all the pictures of my dad. Well, of course, he had a sort of a large mustache, and he was maybe a couple inches shorter than I am. I was considered 5'10½". He was probably about 5'9". He was a larger man than I was. He probably weighed 220 pounds. Very strong man.
220. It must have been awful
Yes,
heavy.
he was
too.
really a big,
Really
broad
heavy?
shoulder. Yes, he had quite a pot on him though at the end, because I remember him mostly when he was in his older age. He was 66 when he died. I had a very happy life there because we had sort of an innocent, happy life. We appreciate a lot of things. In fact, for an example, we would get an orange in our stocking at Christmas time, which was quite an unusual thing to have at that time. Of course, we got hard candy, and no such thing as soft candy at the time. This was our Christmas. in those days. And of course, we always think we had more snow in those days than we have today because we had to make a path on the road to get out in the mornings and walk to school, which was a little over a mile to go to school.
How long did it take you to walk when it's snowing?
Oh, I had no idea at the time, but we would walk to school, and then we had an hour and a half. We'd walk back for lunch, and then walk back to school at night. And then, of course, whenever the snow was gone, we'd run it. That's how we learned to run a mile. This is sort of a practice on this all the time to be able to run a mile and all this.
Well, what was the school? When was the school in operation? The same as now? Or?
Yes, the approximate time. I don't know how many days a year, but we'd go in September and get off in 1st of June.
You went all the way through the Huron school system?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
From A to Z?
Mm-hmm. Of course, today they have, the east side has buses that picks up the children now and takes them to school.
Yeah.
They don't walk that far anymore now. It's just out of the way to think you have to walk at all to go to school.
What was the furthest you ever got from home before you graduated from high school?
At that time, of course, I had been to Detroit once when my brother died. We went on a streetcar.
Did you? All the way?
All the way through the streetcar. We got off in Toledo and transferred and got on the streetcar and went to Detroit.
Take a while?
Took us, I don't recall the time now, but I was quite young. I don't quite remember it all, really.
Well, how long had it been since you saw your brother when he died?
Well, I don't really remember him, to be very frank.
No, you never
with you.
saw him?
No, I don't recall even his face of any kind, except the pictures that we had of him. Because I was only about 6 years old. He died a year later after my mother died.
How old was he then?
I was 6 years old when he died, and I was only 5 when my mother died. So they died a year apart.
Well, how old would he have been?
Oh, he was in his 70s. I don't know the exact age.
No, I mean your brother when he died. How old was he?
I think around 21 or 22 years old.
Why did he go to Detroit?
Well, there was more money there, and the opportunity, of course. My uncle lived in Detroit, my dad's brother, and he was in sort of a construction business there, and he didn't.
He worked for his uncle?
No, he worked for some big construction outfit. My uncle probably got him a job.
Well, your dad had a brother in Detroit?
Yes.
Oh, that's the first time I heard that.
Yes, he had a brother that lived in Detroit.
Any other relatives over here?
No, yes, he had a sister lived in Pittsburgh. And
How were they spelling the name then?
well, we spelled it Yannitell, but the actual spelling of the name is Iannitell, Yannitelli, but there's no Y in the Italian language.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever they'd say they used to charge all their groceries at the time, and they couldn't spell it right, so they just put the Y in instead and cut the I off at the end and made it a little easier.
Well, how about the rest of? Did his brother spell it I-A?
He spelled it I-E all the time in Detroit. He always did. In fact, all the Yannitells are I-A in Detroit.
Well then, did his brother have children?
He has. His brother had 4 sons and 3 daughters. And he has a Joe Yannitell, like my name.
They spelling it Y?
Well, they spell it with the I-A.
Is this one of the
But
guys
Joe
over
is,
in Pittsburgh?
No, this is Joe in Detroit. Joe Yannitell lives in Detroit. He's about my age.
Mm-hmm.
Just about my
You ever
age.
seen him?
Oh, all the time. I used to live in Detroit. I used to see him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he married a girl that I used to run around with.
Oh, I see.
And in fact, she just died last year of cancer. And he has, Joe Yannitell has 3 daughters. I don't think he ever had a son, I don't recall. Yes, I know the Yannitells, the Yannitellis of Detroit real well. The other relation of mine named Briscoe in Pittsburgh. There are 2 sons and then 3 daughters. They're my first cousins in Pittsburgh.
Well, who were all the school chums that you remember?
Well, there was.
I mean, would it be hard for you to remember all of them, or was it a
Not
small class you
necessarily.
could remember everything?
Well, it was a class of 19
When you graduated?
graduated. But there was Alder Nagy and Dave Catree, Frank Van Duze,
Are these guys
Joe
still?
Legando.
I know Joe.
Yes.
I know a couple of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where are they? Some of them still in here?
Just about all of them are still living there.
Who are the rest of them?
I'd say most of the fellows are still there yet. Rocky Loritz, he's a superintendent of the schools at Huron. There is Temper. His last name was Temper, but I don't recall. Pete Temper. Of course, Pete is dead. Pete died about 3 years ago. There was about 10 or 12 guys that we ran around together all the time, all our same age, all the same school age. There's 4 or 5 of them that are dead now. The rest, most of them live in Huron. Dickerhoff, Eddie Dickerhoff, who lives in Milwaukee now, I think. I don't know what kind of a job he has, but I hadn't seen Ed Dickerhoff in 25, 30 years. I wouldn't know if I'd seen him, I suppose. But I go back and down the dock, and when the boat is in, they're all down in the office waiting for the ore to get down the bottom so they can go back to work and shovel it or run a bulldozer scraping it up. That's why I see all the old friends still there yet.